Good afternoon, Jason Davis from ZIZ Broadcasting Corporation. A couple of questions, sort of tallying or following on to the whole topic of renewable energy. I know that there's a plan to develop a waste-to-energy plant here. Is there any plan to set up a recycling plant here? That's simple first question. On to money. I know over the past couple of years we've experienced, well, there have been a couple of days, VAT reduction day, where the VAT has been lowered twice. Is there any chance we can get a VAT-free day or maybe a general reduction of the VAT? And finally, when would we be able to find out who the new senators are?
Very good. I want to thank you, Jason from ZIZ. We do not intend as a government to be investing in a recycling plant here in St. Kitts and Nevis. In fact, I believe that we have already given the necessary license and support to a local businessman who was interested, I think, in doing recycling. And so I believe there is an activity where there is, at the moment, separation of garbage, bottles, plastics in particular, and I think aluminum. And this has been an activity that should be ongoing for some time. We did give license for this kind of recycling activity over a year ago, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that it must be functioning. But it is something that we welcome, because we believe that if we are going to be actively involved in the preservation of our environment, ensuring that we as a modern country adhere to the basic protocols and conventions that we have signed on to, then of course we would expect recycling of waste material to be an important aspect of our own activity as consumers and supported by the government. I'm glad you mentioned the VAT reduction day, because we have been told, although I haven't seen the official report as yet, that this has brought tremendous benefit to our people, tremendously more, it would appear, to our businessmen. We continue to say as a government that our aim in particular at this time is to help to stimulate the economy and to keep as much money here flowing in St. Kitts as possible, and to reduce the amount that is going outside. The idea of the VAT reduction day came about because, of course, we as a government have made it possible through the lowering of the duty that our Christmas shoppers would have paid on the goods that they bring back into the country after they would have traveled for shopping purposes. We thought that a good competition would be to allow the local businessmen to lower their own prices, and with the lower VAT to be paid, they should be able to stay at home and do their shopping and thus help to stimulate the economy. And I think so far it has worked. I believe that both consumers and the businessmen have benefited tremendously from this. In terms of a reduction in VAT, this is still something that we will continue to monitor very, very closely. I'm not going to say it cannot happen, but at the moment, our advice is that we are still not yet over the critical stage of our fiscal problem that we had when we first introduced the VAT some almost 3 years ago. But we will continue to monitor it. We believe that there will be a time when the government will be able to announce definitively whether the VAT will remain as it is or whether it would be adjusted. A completely removal of the VAT is not something that I see immediately. VAT-free day, well, it will come. I'm sure that this is something, again, that will come with time. And so I thought we meant completely removing the VAT, a VAT-free day. I think that is important, and it is something, Jason, that I'm prepared to look at once the businessmen think it is going to be something good for them. The new senators, We must have the new senator, at least one of the 3 senators that have been approved by Parliament, to be now part of the legislative body. We would have at least one on the government side for the next sitting of Parliament. The next sitting of Parliament is expected to be the budget. It is, in fact, precisely for that reason that we went to the Parliament with the increase in senators' bill before the budget that was being contemplated, as you would remember, for the 11th or 12th of December. We now have had that opportunity. The next step, I understand, in the legislative agenda, the legislative calendar, I should say, would be going to the Parliament with the budget. And I would want to make sure that the Speaker would have the opportunity to be relieved. And so we now have the legal, or I should, the legislative support to have a new senator. That new senator will, in fact, become the deputy speaker whenever the Parliament meets. We'll hope that the Parliament will be able to elect the new speaker at that time, and you will hear at that time.
There's no date set for the next. No date set for the next sitting yet.
The leader of government business, nor the Speaker of the Assembly, none has, in fact, told me as to when. Of course, I have an input because I'm the Prime Minister, and it's the budget. At the moment, I have not set a date when the Ministry of Finance are again ready, and when we would have completed the exercise, because we actually didn't even print the last time. We now have to go and do the printing of the budget before it can be presented. And so that will come very shortly. I'm sure about that.
Prime Minister, L.K. Hewlett from the St. Kitts Nevis Observer. To follow up on what Jason asked, considering the fact that there is legal action being taken to have injunctive relief against the newly appointed Attorney General, and this could affect the constitution of the Cabinet and Parliament, will you proceed with naming this senator despite all that's going on, that it might be in the courts before you appoint the person? Will you still appoint the person regardless if there is court action? And also, why was if you can tell us, why was the new Attorney General not appointed the Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs as has been the norm? And thirdly, has the special vehicle started selling the lands as yet? Special purpose vehicles.
Right. Let me answer the last one first, because that's easier. I don't think that any sale of lands has taken place as yet. We are just perfecting the company and ensuring that the appropriate management and staff is in place before it can begin to actually provide services for which it has been enacted, or it has been incorporated, I should say. So that hasn't happened as yet, but we've given instructions that, of course, they should get to the point where they can begin to function as quickly as possible. Why we did not appoint the Attorney General as Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs, we did not think it was appropriate at this particular time. And soon, if it becomes necessary, so it will be. When we came in first back in 1995, we just had an Attorney General. There was no Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs. In fact, if there was, I must have been that person, because it normally would have fallen with the Prime Minister of the day. But as I said, for no particular reason, but to ensure that we were able to get through this critical period, to have an Attorney General in place, since we wanted to separate the Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs from that of the Attorney General. We wanted to make the Attorney General a senator, which we've done, and now we're able to move forward. It was to ensure that the Parliament and the government would be able to function, since we believe very strongly that there were some forces attempting to prevent the government from being functional in Parliament and out of Parliament. And so that was done. The legal action, the injunction relief, but I still proceed. as long as the court tells me that unless it tells me that I can't appoint the senator, I will. It's only a matter of time. In fact, the search is on. Are you interested?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Good. The search is on. Search is on. Yes, so that will happen.
To collective responsibility. So
I see. Well, no, you can be a senator without being in the cabinet. In the cabinet, you have to. There's no doubt about that.
So will the senator be a part of the cabinet now that you're
we don't know.
Sure?
We don't know as yet. We don't know as yet. It is not our intention to, but we don't know. Sorry?
A member of cabinet?
No, can't be a member of cabinet. He's right. That's
then you
why.
will have a parliamentary body that constitutes equal amount of elected members and non-elected members. And then
the Constitution.
If you name the other senator, then you'll have more senators than elected members.
The House will now become 17. Let us say we were to go from 3 to 6 in terms of the senators. The House would move from 14 to 17. 6 plus the 18.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. 18.
If he's a senator.
6 is only a third. The 8 is a senator.
At that point,
See, Master, you have plans.
I'm just saying, don't look at me.
But I was saying that 6 out of 18 is only a third. There's nothing wrong with that parliament. It's a good parliament. And always remember, it's the dictates of the Constitution that we live by. The Constitution allows for that. Again, I make the point, there's no dilution of the National Assembly elected members. None whatsoever. The Constitution allows for that, and I told you what was happening in Nevis. Look at the Nevis Island Assembly, and you will see. Totally different picture. We're not even close to what is the structured percentage composition in the Nevis Island Assembly. We don't have that in the federal government as yet. It would be good to achieve that. So that's where we are. Next question.
Tony Frederick, good afternoon, Honorable Minister. I just asked all my questions very quickly back to back. One, coming out of the reference to the special purposes vehicle, have the, I guess, 7, the 3 and 3 and 1, have the 7 members of the board, the people who will run the SPV, have they been appointed? Who are they? That would be one question. In regards to solid waste, I understand that there's some moves to look at the waste to energy option as a means of generating electricity and controlling the amount of waste that we have. I understand by mid-February that the cell at the Connery landfill will be full, and we're going to start baling and storing waste for hopefully some sort of future waste to energy program. Can you give us any idea when that could be coming on stream? What is the long-term plan really to deal with our garbage? How close are we to getting to a place where something is going to be done with that stored waste? On another matter, I'm just reading here from a press release. The West Barstow executive of the Labour Party has issued a press release saying that a press release that was issued yesterday by people purporting to be the executive of the West Barstow branch were not. They've indicated that, and they say in their letter, which I'm reading, they're claiming that you were aware of this group that would have sent out this letter purporting to be the executive. You knew that the executive, other than the former chairman, that the executive was behind Minister Sam Conda, the representative for the area, and they have come right out and said that they believe that you may have even been given your support to this letter that was issued yesterday. The letter also was sent out to the local media and regional media from ZIZ Broadcasting's email. We received it. It was sent. No, the original letter yesterday, a letter was sent out yesterday morning about 11 something. A letter was sent out from ZIZ to most local media houses looking at the email, and a number of regional media organizations, including the Trinidad Express, the OECS Newslink, saying that attached is this letter from the executive branch of the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party.
And in this, it actually read that it was a press release, and they called for your former deputy to resign, not just as the representative, but as a member of parliament. Today, a letter has gone out saying we are the executive, signed letter, and they're saying this letter that came yesterday was not from us. It is some group posing as us, and they have charged that you were aware of the group and that they had your support. So what I'm asking is, were you aware of this group and this letter that would have been sent out yesterday, asking or insisting that Sam Conda resign as the area representative and resign from Parliament as well? Also, in your capacity as leader of the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party, will you be making any move at this point to ask Sam Conda to resign as deputy leader of the party? We know he has resigned from cabinet, and he's no longer deputy prime minister, so will there be any moves in that regard? The Khoi development, there initially was some concerns about environmental there were some environmental concerns expressed about the pond and the wildlife at the pond, some of which were put to rest by Mr. Williams from the board, the physical planning board. But in all of those conversations, it was determined that an environmental impact assessment was not made public, as is law. And I was wondering if you could give any indication when that EIA would be made public, given that there was still some environmentalists who had expressed some concern about that development, which I understand is set to come on stream now.
Right, let me speak to the Khoi development. I have not been given any official report from the Ministry of Sustainable Development, especially from the Department of Physical Planning and Environment, that this particular planned development, the Khoi Resort and residences, poses any threat whatsoever to environmental stability in the area. I have not seen any report of such. I know that geotechnical studies had been performed. In fact, I was on site just this morning myself. I was invited to the site by the investor who has a team with him here, a working team. And so I was taken this morning to tour the site, to look at the site, and given an explanation, again, a full detailed outline of the nature of the development that will take place there and how quickly it will come on stream in order to impact positively on the life of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. But I see no problem. I see no problem whatsoever. But I do not know if it is. I don't know if it is normal to do that. And
apparently,
if
it is the law. Yes.
Right. If it is the law, then it will be.
Right. Has indicated that the act does speak to it being made public.
Okay. It will be done.
But you can't say when.
No. Once it is something that we have to do by law, it will be done. Because I don't think there is any unnecessary concern here. So that will be done, but I can't say when. You're asking if I have any intention of asking the Honorable Sam Conda to resign as the deputy leader of the Labour Party. At the moment, no, I don't have that particular intention. I think it is a function that has been there for the inception of the party. I don't think it has become problematic. If it becomes a problem where the deputy is no longer engaged with the Labour Party, then of course that will be pursued. But at the moment, I don't see that as a problem at all. It's the least of my worries at the moment. The letter from the group that came out from West Bastille on Tuesday, of course, I'm aware of the group. I got a copy of the press release that was sent out. And that's it. I'm aware of the group. I am aware that the group has made these claims, and I myself have been invited by the group to a meeting and so forth.
That sent out the letter today, or the group that sent out the letter yesterday? The group that sent out the letter today, or the group that sent out the letter yesterday?
I have not seen any letter that was sent out today. I have seen a press release that came out yesterday.
From And okay, the one that called for the resignation.
Right, I have seen that, and I have met with the people.
But because they're claiming to be the
Just a minute,
executive
just a minute.
of the West Bastia branch. Are they?
I wouldn't know. I know that they are from West Bastia. I have met with former Minister Conda a few weeks ago with what was then the branch executive. I did have a meeting with the branch executive at former Minister Conda's office. That's a few weeks ago. But as I said, I was invited to a meeting on Monday, and this group told me that they had organized themselves in an attempt to reorganize and restructure the branch for the Labour Party, and then they issued a statement after they probably would have had a meeting on Sunday, sometime on Sunday. The situation is very fluid, and one would want to wait before making any comment as to exactly what happens. I have very little information as to what is happening except that which I have seen in the press release. And as I said, it's a fluid situation. I'm sure that with time, it will clarify itself.
So as leader of the party, do you acknowledge them as the executive? They've told you they're organizing themselves to organize the branch. Do you acknowledge them then
as far as I know, that they are a legitimate group from West Bastia. All of them are comrades whom I know, who have been in branch executives in the past, and until I am told by the national secretariat of our party as to what is the clarified position there, I would remain, as I said, I would remain waiting to see what is happening.
Okay, Hewlett, St. Kitts Nevis Observer again.
Question, about solid waste and the waste to energy project and the fact that the cell is going to be full in about a week.
Right. We have been informed, and the Cabinet has looked at this matter just on Monday this week, also looked at it sometime before, last week it being included in the time before. And we are pretty satisfied that the measures which have been identified by the management and supported by the Ministry of Health, we are satisfied that those measures will be put in place and there will be no unnecessary worry with regard to the disposal of our garbage. Of course, we've had a very scientific and properly engineered way of having our garbage disposed of, and also allowing it to go through the process of it being properly disposed. That process is going to continue. We are going to, I understand, we are going to begin the preparation to open up a new landfill site, to build another modern, scientifically engineered landfill. But in the meantime, there are temporary measures which will be put in place that will bring no unnecessary worry and discomfort to the citizens of our country, especially the residents in the Connery area.
Okay, Hewlett again. The public has been asking, when the post-cabinet press release came out and said, press briefing, came out and said the government is taking steps to intervene with the electricity SCELEC, increasing the rates. Isn't SCELEC 100% owned by government, so therefore they would control what is going on with the company and would be aware that an increase is coming and would have approved it before the consumers would have been told there's an increase? And do you know what the increase was for again? Because we just hadn't.
No, I don't think there was any increase contemplated. I believe that the press release was the post-cabinet briefing was making reference to a few months ago when there was an announcement that there was going to be an increase in the electricity rates. And the government then had intervened because it would appear as if the increase was going to be some way associated with SCELEC now being required to to pay the customs service charge that all importers of goods and materials tend to pay. We felt that because of the situation, it should be withheld, and as a result of that, there was no increase. Of course, we had indicated that it was going to be necessary for the customs service charge to be paid. And the customs service charge is now going to be paid. But there has been, it would appear, an arrangement that is being pursued between the Ministry of Energy, SCELEC, and the SIDF that would allow the increased cost of the service not to be passed on to the consumer. And this will be as a result, as I said, of the intervention of the SIDF together, having negotiated together with the Ministry of Energy and SCELEC officials.
Was the SIDF not subsidizing the fuel surcharge or some part of the electricity rates before?
Not as far as I'm aware of. Okay. Well, it could have, but not as far as I'm aware of. But I know in this particular case, this is a matter that came to the Cabinet, and the Cabinet gave it its blessings.
Which is the SIDF stepping in and
yes.
basically subsidizing that
yes.
cost. What about the increase in the cable? You said the government would also intervene in that matter.
The government also has indicated to the cable board that although we appreciate that the cable needs additional revenue, and because the services that it has been providing over the years have not been supported by any increase, and with its own fiscal situation, its own financial situation, I should say, there is a need for the intervention of an increase. It needs more capital, more revenue, in order to pursue its own continued development in terms of improvement and expansion of its services. The government clearly understands and supports the cable in that particular observation that it has made and its demand. However, we have said to the cable board, and of course the board would say to the management, that the consumers at this time may not be in a position to really absorb the increases that are being presented and which are being requested. And so, again, we have approved an arrangement that would allow the additional capital to be obtained by the cable company so that it can do what it wants to do in terms of its operations, but it will not be passed on to the consumers at all. And so we're looking at maybe a strategic partner that is going to become involved with the cable.
Honourable Prime Minister, the
Members of the board for the SPV.
Oh, yes. We have not completely, well, our side, the government side, has identified some of the members. I am not in a position, though. I don't think that they have appropriately responded as yet. And I don't think that the bank has identified its own members of the board. I will make sure that this is brought to your attention as quickly as the exercise is completed.
That's it. Closing remarks, Prime Minister.
Well, I want to say that the media should be thanked for attending our first press conference for the year. You had a lot of material last month, so it was not necessary at all to have any press conference from the Prime Minister, because the Prime Minister was in the news. It would appear every day last month. I want to say to the press that we expect balanced and fair reporting. We would expect that we can rely on the professionalism of our reporters in the media, that they would ask questions from both sides and try to get both sides' views and opinions before matters are printed or matters are brought to the public. St. Kitts and Nevis continues to be a very stable, progressive democracy. There are some people who would hope that there is instability in our country. Some people would want you to believe that there is a crisis in St. Kitts and Nevis. There is no instability, there is no crisis. In fact, because we are so strong, a people and government, to adhere to the democratic and constitutional rule that our government has been accustomed to for years, we will always refer to the Constitution and to the rule of law to ensure that the country does not get into any state of crisis. I want to thank those in particular who are willing to accept the fact that the government has its work to do, and also others have their work to do. The role of the opposition, of course, is to try to get the government out of office. And the role of the government is to continue to serve the interests of the people who elected it to serve. I hope that we are all on one common ground and understanding in this case. And may our country continue to move from strength to strength, fulfilling our own desires and the needs of our people as we serve them as the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party government. Thank you.